Hello and welcome to this study skills how-to video, which is going to focus on practice questions. As with all of the study skills, there are three key underlying principles. Firstly, spaced practice. This is studying little and often. This is the opposite of massed practice, sometimes called cramming. So that's perhaps studying for 6, 7, 8 hours, I don't know, in the day before an exam. That technique really does not work. You should study little and often, half hour, 45 minutes regularly over time. Interleaving, this is mixing up the topics as you study. This can be a little bit counterintuitive. Sometimes people want to block together linked topics within subjects, but this does not help reinforce the interconnected nature of your subjects and the knowledge within that subject. So do mix up the topics. And then lastly, retrieval practice. Too often, study is ineffective because people straight away reach for the exercise book or the online resource or the textbook, and rather than actually trying to remember information and knowledge, it simply becomes a copying activity. Always work from memory first. Practice remembering things. It's harder, but it's much more beneficial. So practice questions. You can make up your own questions. That's quite a good approach. Of course, you can use existing questions, so perhaps from past papers you can access online, or from revision guides, or questions that teachers have given you. But answer lots and lots of practice questions. Definitely work from memory first. There is no point answering practice questions with a textbook open next to you. All you're doing is looking up information. That's not going to help you remember that information when you're sat in an exam where you don't have access to that textbook. So memory first, please. Here's an example from engineering. It's a sample paper that's been printed, but you don't have to print it. The questions have been answered and then marked using the mark scheme or another resource just to check answers. There's a question mark on that first one there. That's an indication that when I was doing these practice questions, I didn't know it. What my next step would be to look up that answer and to write that answer in. I've also got one wrong at the bottom there. My next step there would be to look up the correct answer and write that answer in. An extension of practice questions is something that could be really, really powerful, is sitting an exam or part of an exam one day, working from memory, then checking using a mark scheme or a textbook or your own notes to check the answers, and then sitting that exact same paper, say a week later, and seeing how much more of that information you can recall and remember.